Greetings everyone, and welcome to the Provident Vox. I am Baroness Aragni.
And I'm Baron Aragni. In this first episode, we will be discussing necromancy. That's right, the big black bad of the occult world.
What is it? What makes it so powerful? As well as some bits and pieces of this absolutely magnificently powerful practice.
What is necromancy? Well, by the definition of the word, it means divining through the dead. However, that's not all you can do with necromancy. So, as a fact and a rule, we shall rather call it the Necromantic Arts.
With the Necromantic Arts, you can not just divine through them, as the namesake claims, but also set them to various purposes, call them forth, achieve various goals and intents working with them. So, as we have said multiple places before, necromancy in and of itself is a paradigm complete.
So what makes necromancy so powerful and notorious is that, aside from the system, which is complete, we basically live with the occurrence of death every single day of every single moment. Now, from the moment you are born, you are destined to die. And this is inevitable, irrelevant of what you think you can achieve. You will die one day.
It is one of those facts of life. So, that is the one thing that binds us all, collectively as the living, to the currents of death and the dead. The fact that we too will die, and they were as we are right now. Also, regarding the notoriety of necromancy, is that when people think about it, they think about digging up graves or getting your hands dirty to work with the dead. That is true, yet not extremely true.
Yes, in some instances you will require certain, how can we say, witnesses or rivets, etc. and so forth in order to achieve a goal in necromancy. However, you must remember, and you must keep this in mind, that the spirits of the dead are everywhere. Every single place where you walk, there's a great chance that someone has already died there. So thusly it carries the essence of death itself and will attract the dead.
So yes, necromancy is a dark practice, per se. It is a visceral practice. It is a practice which, as mentioned, you literally need to get your hands dirty to be able to practice this in its extent and degree. However, by itself, it does not call for desecration.
No, not at all. Actually, that is a very, very, very big no-no with the practice of necromancy and life in general. You do not desecrate graves or anything as such. Now, the next topic we're going to discuss on the subject matter is, well, the dead and the various classes of the dead. We will divide it under the following categories: the good and bad spirits. However, we do not like referring to them as good or bad, and the powerful and the less powerful.
Now, the good and bad spirits, we believe that is quite self-explanatory. You get spirits just as the living are, so they will be dead. So just as you have some spirits that will help you with exclusively things that falls in their nature, like, say this person was a doctor or a healer in life, so they will not necessarily want to, say, curse people or break down barriers. That's actually something that we can quickly speak about. Again, repeating, as they were living, so they shall be dead, which means that personal opinion comes into play, what they did for a living, their mentality, their mindset. Everything like that has to do with how they will be as a spirit.
Yes, let's not forget about your ancestors as well, because they fall amongst the normal ranks of the dead. As they were living, so they will be dead. An example, if your great-great-uncle or great-great-grandfather was a piece of shit, he will also be a piece of shit while living. Same with your grandmother or cousins, etc. and so forth. So that doesn't mean that suddenly they're going to be ascended just because they're ancestral spirit or helpful in the least. There's some cases where we had to remove ancestral spirits which has attached themselves to the living host, and they were causing havoc in the lives of that person.
Exactly. So some people's under the impression with ancestral spirits that now that they're dead, all of a sudden, they're so wise and powerful and they actually give a shit about you.
You must remember, the good will be good and the cunts will be still cunts.
And so it is with the rest of the dead as well. If someone was a useless alcoholic while alive, don't expect that one to make a good working spirit for you. It's just not going to happen. Likewise, if, say, we mentioned an example of a good spirit, let's say one of a bad one. Let's just say someone was a serial killer or a sadist while they were alive.
Then you will employ them in accordance to their nature. Just as the living will have their, let's just say, the work that they are doing, a doctor or engineer, etc. and so forth. You must employ the spirit or seek the spirit out in accordance to whom and what they are, the principality and their power.
Now, further on the classes of the dead, as we've discussed that you can only employ certain spirits for certain purposes, now you get the more powerful and the less powerful, the ascended and the lesser. The lesser spirits, we will say, are the garden variety ones. We like to refer to them as such. They are not particularly powerful, individually at least. They are not particularly skilled at any one thing. They form, let's just say, the masses of the dead.
Indeed. So basically you can see them as a bunch of worker ants without any particular skill set.
Now, don't get us wrong. Just because they don't have any particular skill sets or any particular power that they personally hold does not mean they are completely useless. Amongst all of that, if you join them together, if you employ multiple ones at the same time, their power stacks, for lack of a better term. Their power grows the more you have. But putting that aside, then you get the ascended dead.
Yeah, okay, these are known as chthonic forces, psychopomps, etc. and so forth, the inferi. They have many, many, many names. Okay, most of these ascended dead we refer to as the agents of death. Alright, they don't have an actual title, but we refer to them as that for the sake of convenience. What they do is, some of them actually control the dead. So then they have their acolytes under them, which is the general dead. And amongst the ranks of those general dead, you get specialists, if we may. For example, the serial killers, the healers, the sadists, etc. and so forth and so on. Now they control that lot.
The nice thing about these agents of death is, say you as a necromancer, you want to find a spirit to, let's say, help you with a law problem, a court case, say, as an example. Now, to find a suitable working spirit for your case, you're going to have to trudge through hordes and hordes and hordes if you manually seek a spirit, a garden variety spirit that can assist you with this. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of effort, and a lot of know-how to be able to distinguish between them. So that's where the agents of death comes in. That instead of having to seek a spirit for the purpose that you need, you speak to one of the agents instead, and they will then either assist you personally, or they will take one that is underneath them, and they will assign a spirit to your situation. So it's also a lot safer, especially if you are new in the practice, to work with an agent of death directly instead of with the dead.
Exactly. Don't get us wrong. These agents of death, they're not standing in queues waiting to assist you because they simply do not care about you as an individual. Now, how they work is as follows. If you employ them, then you will pay them for their services. So you can see them as a sort of a mercenary. Now, we're not saying all of them are such, because you do get your godhead or your head spirit, which will work with you directly. And they are not so natured to be mercenaries in that regard. Nor are we saying that all the lesser spirits of the dead are useless or the rabble. No, not all of these lesser spirits of the dead works under agents of death itself, because these spirits, just like us, have free will, so they can choose where they want to go or what they want to do.
How they get assigned under a agent of death is they seek them out. They go to them and, well, as you see, if you look at people, generally people like to congregate together. They like to form groups. Well, this is quite frankly no different than that.
Yeah. And in some cases, these spirits of the dead are linked to the agents of death because they served them while they were living. So thusly, they will become one of their subservients.
Now, many people likes to ask us about the various symbols, firma, seals, vevis about the dead and how they are used. Well, we'll start that part off by saying that the concept of seals, firma, even vevi, is actually a very decidedly modern or Western approach to things, because originally, anciently, and on its base factor, in necromancy, you're not going to have a specific seal to call something forth, even if you get vevies for certain of the agents of death or their firmas or their seals or whatever. That is what they provided. You don't need that to reach out to them or to reach out to the dead. In necromancy, they are, in its most original form, it's rather places of power, such as the cemetery where the person died, or sacred places.
In regards to the symbols, vevi, firmas, and seals, they serve as the following purpose. Basically, they represent either the nature of the spirit or entity you wish to contact, or it's a message to these spirits to instruct them on, as seen with vevis and firmas, as an example.
Now, don't get us wrong, various seals of the various agents of death, or even the houses of the dead, they are used and they are very powerful. However, the most powerful ones, apart from those that you will create yourself as a practitioner out of your knowledge and experience, are those that the agents of death provide you themselves, or which the spirits provide you themselves. You can see this as spirit signatures, if you will.
Yeah, in the cases of firmas, you must remember this is very complex, because it's every single part of the firma tells a story or tells a message to the spirit and exactly what they must do and what they shouldn't do. So you need a lot of experience as a practitioner to use symbols and vevis and firmas and seals and to make it extremely powerful, because you need to understand the energies, the forces and vibrations at work. And so you don't create something which is in conflict with itself, which can inevitably turn upon you and destroy you as an individual.
Exactly.
So a lot of experience is required in essence and in truth.
We can actually mention right now that even though you may be drawn to necromancy, know that it is an extremely powerful and an extremely, extremely dangerous paradigm to follow. It's not like other aspects of magic or other paradigms or paths of magic. Necromancy, when you dabble with it, when you fuck around, when you think it's a joke, you will get utterly destroyed because of it. Mark our words for that. The halls of the dead are littered with people who think that playing around with the dead is just a joke.
Indeed, it's true. It's no joke. It is extremely dangerous, yet it's very much rewarding. This, what we are telling you on this podcast, is not everything on the subject of necromancy or the necromantic arts. You must remember, we cannot possibly talk about every single aspect in great detail, so we will only loosely describe certain things on the subject matter.
Now, some of you are likely aware of the various religious beliefs that involves necromancy as an important cornerstone or important factor of the system itself, such as Palo Mayombe, Palo Monte,
Quimbanda, Kendoki,
and all of those. Even Santeria, but even though they won't openly admit it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the problem we have with religion, except that we have utter contempt for the religious system in the world, is that the dogma behind it is not necessarily truthful nor accurate, and it brings forth a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation on the various subjects of the necromantic art.
For example, in certain of these religious systems, you must, in essence, promise yourself, dedicate yourself, devote yourself onto these various forces that you are going to employ. But at the cost of that you will be subservient unto them for the rest of your existence after you die. Now, we found that people don't exactly have a very good concept or understanding of eternity. However, yeah, it's not a good thing to do such things. Yeah, they might do absolutely everything you request of them in record time while you are alive and while you are employing them. But when that tables are turned, when your body dies, you no longer belong to yourself.
Aside from this, what I want to talk about is the religious influences in these systems. Let's just look at Palo Mayombe, Santeria, and all of these which you mentioned prior. Now, the problem that it's African diasporic systems. Now, why is this a problem? It's because those people who was taken as slaves, those tribal people in the past, they had very little knowledge on their own systems of magic itself, because they weren't shamans or priests or anything as such. those people who were taken as slaves. Then they got introduced in a Western society, in a Western culture. So a little bits and pieces of the African part of the system, which they knew, got mixed up with the Western tradition of religion and occult and so on and so forth. Now, within that itself grew a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation. So in a system such as Palo, we can clearly see all the misinformation and misconceptions which arises with their understanding of especially the currents of energy and how it works, that all energy is not in conflict with one another. Yet in this system, they believe that there is a conflict standard between two energies. And we know as cultists that it depends on the type of energy you choose to work with, such as fire and air, which is complementary with one another. And that's one of the many examples we can use in the subject of misconceptions and misinformations in the religious systems.
Actually, another one that we can use regarding religion and their misconceptions is you will see with these systems like Palo and Santeria and all of these, that they like to associate these various agents of death with saints, or they like to cross-reference it to other belief systems, which is not so. And some of you is probably going to get very pissed off by some of the things that we say, but, well, tough. We say it as it is, not what you want to hear. As an example, Siete Rayos from Palo Mayombe is allegedly Chango, according to these people. But we have personally spoken to him, and that is not the case. He claims, or he told us, that people think they are the same. So he responds if people believe in that system, if they call him under that name. However, that is not him. They are not the same. Likewise, in voodoo, you see people referring to the various saints, that this particular Igere is this particular saint or whatever. It's full of things like that.
Yeah, and another important thing which we would like to mention in regards to this is these spirits are not bound to those particular belief systems. I mean, these spirits existed prior to those belief systems. So they revealed themselves unto specific people so that people can actually work with them. And now these systems of Palo, Quimbanda, Santeria, Kendoke, etc., they wish you to think that these spirits belong only unto their systems and that you have to be initiated through their system. But that is a load of bullshit, actually, because it's the spirits themselves, the Godhead and the head spirits, which does the initiation, not the people. That's simply ridiculous.
So then you get people who charges you thousands of dollars to be initiated just to be able to so-called practice anything with these spirits, and that is bullshit. And in modernity, in these recent days at least, some people say no, it's cultural appropriation if you work with these spirits but you are not Mexican or African or whatever. That is also bullshit. Or do these people want to tell these spirits, these agents, these head spirits, that no, they are not allowed to work with anyone outside of that system because it is wrong by human perception?
And we all know human perception is flawed in extent and degree. So these agents, they answer unto the currents of death and death itself, Rex Mortis. They don't answer unto the perceptions of people, which is fallible. So you can work with any spirit that you wish from any culture, from any pantheon, if you have the knowledge and skill to do so. You don't need anyone's permission.
No, actually just your own permission and those that you seek to work with. Because just as you can work with any spirit that you want, it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to work with you. But not because of cultural or race or gender or whatever reasons. They might just not relate to you. They might not even like you. Many reasons why they might not want to work with you, but many reasons why they might want to work with you.
In our personal system of necromancy, what we have done is we have taken all the aspects of all the necromantic systems in the world, that which actually does work and that which is valuable and effective, and we have spliced that into one system of magic, and which we have introduced a little bit in the Gospel of the Ghouls Volume 1 and 2. So that is our system of magic. We take what works and discard the rest, because simply we don't have time for bullshit.
Since all of these agents and all of these spirits answer only to death itself as a fact, what says that you cannot, say, work with Hecate and Timblatera at the same time? Of course you can, because they are of the same energies, they are of the same principles and powers, they are of the same current.
Where there might be some conflict involved is if their natures are different. For example, if one has a martial nature and another has a nature of let's just say Jupiter as an example, and let's just say there has to be a conflict between the two, then you cannot work with them together. As long as those two principalities and powers
coincides
with one another, then you can. There's no law aside from that which tells you cannot.
The only thing that you must keep in mind with necromancy is, although you can mix the different paradigms of necromancy itself with each other, say Greek with African and so on and so forth, you cannot mix necromancy with any other paradigm.
Yeah, keep necromancy by itself and don't mix it, because that will just be disastrous for you as an individual practitioner. It will be absolutely terrible.
If you want to practice infernal magic or celestial magic or whatever, practice that separately and not in conjunction with necromancy. This is a warning, and please take it seriously.
Yeah, and always consult with those head spirits, the agents of death, if they are willing to work with another one of their own kind. You don't just simply expect them to work together. You must speak to these spirits individually and find out what is their likes and dislikes as well in that regard. And then if they give you consent, and you speak to the other one as well, and then you put them together.
That is also one of the actually nice things about necromancy is, let's just say, you don't just bark an order out and say, okay, this is what I'm going to give in payment, and there they go. No. Necromancy is a bit different, especially if you want to build lasting, strong relationships with those that you work with. You speak to them like you would speak to a friend, a teacher, or whatever. You consult with them. What do you like? What don't you like? I want to achieve this particular goal. Do you have any input on this? The relationships, what you have with those that you work with, most times will determine the difference between success or failure or achieving your results faster. It is a very intimate thing. You cannot keep them at an arm's length from you just because of what they are, the dead. You cannot do that with necromancy. They have to be integrated in your life, in your practices, that they become a part of your daily life.
And another important subject is your Godhead or your head spirit. You'll need to find out which one that is. You cannot just simply assume, okay, I like this one's character, now that's my Godhead or my head spirit. No, it simply doesn't work like that. There's a process of elimination which you have to go through to discover which is your Godhead or your head spirit. And once you've discovered this is the one that's going to initiate you and teach you everything on the subject matter.
And also through this one, you can work with others underneath them or with them, but it's very important to have your Godhead, your head spirit, because this is the one that's going to keep an eye on you, apart from just teaching you.
Yeah, and this spirit will also introduce you to others, like Baronessa said, in which will be complementary to you to work with. And perhaps if you want to create a path working for yourself, this is your head spirit's job to create a path working for you to spiritually ascend and grow yourself spiritually.
So it's always important to know who your head spirit is. Also, this is actually also a good thing to mention, is that sometimes you have more than one head spirit.
Yeah, we've seen cases of that. It does happen, by the way. So there's no rule of thumb when it comes to that. It's not such a common occurrence that you have more than one, but it does happen, by the way. But these spirits, which is, let's just say you have more than one, they'll never be contrary to your own nature. They'll always complement your own nature. Let's just say if you're a Taurus, for an example, and then obviously your
head spirit will be of that nature and that current and that energy that would be related to them. And likewise, some people think, for example, that if you're a female, then your head spirit should be a male and vice versa. That is also not necessarily the case. It's all to do with your energy as a person.
Yes, your head spirit is going to be what it is, whether it's male, female, bisexual, transvestite, it doesn't matter. It's going to be what it is.
So yeah, that is about head spirits. Very important. Necromancy. We are actually quite known for necromancy in particular, even though it is not the only system that we practice personally. But why? Why have we become known for this? Because of our books, or so far at least, to date, it's the Gospel of the Ghouls Volume 1 and the Black Door. However, the Gospel of the Ghouls Volume 2, at the time of us speaking this, it is about to be released. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, we're so well known for those books simply because there wasn't any good books on necromancy prior to that which we have written. And we don't have to be modest about that. It's just simply the fact. Those alleged books on necromancy is always imbued with the Klaposic vibes
or religious vibes
and all that nonsense, which has nothing to do with necromancy in and by itself. Or they come up with a Kayan tradition or all that nonsense as well.
Or they claim that no, you have to worship those that you work with, especially worshipping your ancestors. That is the biggest fuck up you can imagine.
Yeah, you don't worship anything in necromancy. Just work with those forces respectfully, and they will work very hard for you. Okay, and that concludes our episode, or this first part on necromancy.
Yeah, because we have so many things to say about this. But yeah, this is our first podcast. We used to make videos on YouTube that you may or may not have seen. But if we have to be very honest, videos is not exactly our thing. We don't really like to be in the spotlight. We don't like all that pomp and circumstance. So we switch over to podcasts to hopefully also be able to help you, the listener, so that you don't have to watch a video, so you can listen to us while you do other things. So yeah, we're new at the podcasting thing, so please be patient with us, and we assure you that as the episodes grow and grow, so shall the content.
Yeah, and we will actually be able to see more organized and not so disorganized. And we're just being honest about it. We're not really good at this, so we'll do our best to better ourselves.
And if there is any things you would like us to speak about or elaborate about, or any topics that you would like us to delve into, please reach out to us, let us know. And if you like our material, if you like us, if you like our topics, our podcast, please like and subscribe, share the word around, because, those damn algorithms. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, this is something which is new for us, so we would very much appreciate your support, and don't be scared or anxious to give a shout out to us if you want us to speak about any specific topic, even specific topics on necromancy, on magic, or whatever we speak about on that day.
So yeah, thank you for listening, and we do hope that you will tune in again every Wednesday. A new episode will be uploaded. So there you have it.
Thank you for listening.
As above, so below.
As within, so without.